Can I get a year? What's going on, Underwear Crew? Hope you had a happy holidays if you celebrate and had a happy New Year's. Today is officially 1 month after Renegades launched into Destiny 2, and I have some cool things to say about it and some bad things to say about it, so I want to give you my review of the expansion. Starting with the campaign, little to no spoilers by the way. I feel like Bungie absolutely nailed the Star Wars to Destiny 2 ratio in my opinion. I will say I was definitely on the fence when they announced a Star Wars themed expansion because I thought it would feel like the IP and not actually Destiny at the end of the day. I figured it would be too much, honestly, especially since I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan and I can barely name more than 5 characters if I tried. But one thing I do know is the ambiance that radiates in almost every frame that is on the screen. From the cantina that gives off the vibes of almost every Star Wars cantina I've seen, especially the one in Mandalorian. The Baron Imperium gives off the Stormtrooper vibe as well, along with some fun Easter eggs like bumping your head on doorways and falling to the depths with funny noises. The main campaign missions are really well made. The skyboxes are amazing and the cutscenes, oh my goodness, the cutscenes. Don't even get me started. These are some of the best cutscenes I've seen and voice acting in the series, honestly. Please make a movie or TV show, Bungie. From the lighting to the animation, we're all amazingly top-notched. There are not a lot of negative things, but the ones that do exist are very potent. Things like dialogue from the campaign getting cut off when you load into a mission. If you guys played episode Heresy, there were times when you would be in orbit and dialogue would play from a specific character that would progress the story to prevent you from having to go back to the helm and listen to a projector. Renegades has this as well, but the problem is you will load into the next mission of the campaign, which takes you to orbit, and since you're in orbit, it will play the dialogue related to the situation of the story, but because you're loading into a mission, it will cut the dialogue off short, and it happens constantly. I replayed this campaign a couple of weeks after it released, and it was still happening. Because of that, you can miss out on some really cool moments. Like there were dialogue that I just flat out didn't hear until I played my second playthrough. And there are dialogue that I heard in my first playthrough that I didn't hear in my second playthrough. It's really weird. And because there's so much dialogue, you'll miss it. It'll happen almost every mission, sadly. Another thing that's related to this is the constant running around and flying around to talk to people. They added the orbit dialogue and ghost phone call back in the past because the community complained about the constant fly here for dialogue, then run there for more. Renegades does have a lot of it, but not enough for me to dock points, but the most egregious one was when we had to fly to the tower to talk to Zavala, then fly to Drifter's ship to have a phone call with Eris and Lodi that leads to a cutscene, then fly back to the cantina to talk to Honor. Oh, this is the scene, yeah. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It made me go to the tower. Now I gotta go to Drifter's ship, right? And then after I go to Drifter's ship, it's gonna make me go to Tharsis Cantina and talk to them on my ghost. What was the person doing? What's the point of us doing this? I was talking about, look, they make you go all the way over here to answer this call on your ghost.
Guardian, someone's on the line.
And then after they make you run to the tower. I mean, they make you run to there's cantina.
Guardian, you have one new call.
I've seen multiple people talking about this and I'm so glad it's not just me. The last thing I have that's dialogue related is I feel like there just wasn't enough in some areas. Certain things like talking to Drifter or talking to Honor was just not voice acted. It was a text box. There wasn't enough stuff from, well, no, there wasn't anything from any of the factions at all. No voice acting at all. And I feel like that was an incredibly missed opportunity. They could add a different voice actor for each faction leader. It would have been really cool. And I feel like it just needed more voice acting in this expansion. I ain't gonna lie to you. The biggest issue I have with the campaign is the fact there's only 6 normal campaign missions and they sprinkle them in between a bunch of Lawless Frontier missions. You end up doing the exact same activity for each mission on different destinations. Granted, during these activities, there is dialogue that is pivotal to the story that's played in the background, but because of that, it's very easily missed because of the action that's going on in the Lawless Frontier, and it basically feels like you're listening to a Destiny lore video while playing a strike. It doesn't really work that well. The 6 actual missions that we're used to getting are actually very, and I mean very good. In my opinion, there might be some of the best missions they've ever made. It's incredible. They're very fun. The vehicles that they add are amazing. The story throughout is really cool. I just wish that the dialogue that was in the Lawless Frontier missions were not in there because it makes it to the point to where it's hard to pay attention, like I said. And if it was just a shorter campaign with this dialogue somewhere else, I'd be happy with that because it gets to a point to where the Lawless Frontier missions padded out so much that it gets very, and I mean very boring. Let's talk about Bale. I think he's a good villain, not up there with the likes of Savathun and Rolk yet, but emphasis on yet because he has the opportunity to grow. For what he's shown, he ticks all the right boxes of cool character design, great speeches. Alex Lee did an amazing job. I do think it's an incredibly missed opportunity that they never go over the reason why he's acting like this in the campaign. I know for a fact some of you are saying they might go over this in a future story, and I thought so as well, but they already went over it. It's in the game. It's just in a lore book, which most people won't read. If you read the Centering lore book entry 2 titled What Mother, it gives you kind of the motive, and it's a very good motive, and it absolutely should have been a cutscene. If you would like to avoid this small spoiler, feel free to skip to the timestamp on screen. Everyone that's left, I hope you enjoy this lore book as much as I did when I saw it for the first time. It deserves to have a cutscene. Let's begin. I've known my mother dead for longer than I've knew her alive. I remember small moments, falling asleep on her shoulder as she carried me home at night after a holiday party, teaching me to swim, singing as she washed dishes. I remember feeling safe with her. Even when her father shouted, her voice would silence him, protecting me. Memories that comforted me until I saw her. The market at the Bonnet Plaza in the West District. I was getting lunch outside of the Mechanica of my home office. Kaido's logic stations, father's lick spittles, hiccups at factories 3 and 4, a miserable day. I had interred her. She was ash, but in this moment I saw my mother moving through the crowd with her ghost fiddling around her head. She had been dead for 3 years at this point. Somehow, the light had found her. It seems all it needed was ash. 2 chosen by the light marched at her side, bristling with weapons leashed at their puppeteers, the chosen on some holy business to save humanity. She glowed, flushed with heat, as if the fire that cremated her now animated her from within. I cried out in horror, unable to stop myself. It made sense. Of course the Traveler would grant my beloved mother the gift every child in the last city dreams of, every dying elder longs for, as they move away from the main life, eternal life without fear. But when I embraced her, crying her name at the center of the cheering crowd, what did my mother do? She shoved me away. I felt a searing push of solar energy in her strength, a sizzling reminder on my chest as I stumbled back and fell, not a twinkle of recognition in her eyes, just discomfort, the look one gives to a clamoring beggar that gets too close. Cold, she was cold. She was hideous, a doppelganger, an homunculus. Her chirping idiot of a ghost commanded me to clear the way, and off they went. Bystanders helped me to my feet, strangers kinder than my own mother. Is this the truth of the light? Is this what it does? Animate the dead and possess them with ghosts? Puppeteers who keep them hooked on like a fish on a lure, to prey in desperation and transfix the city in this poisoned dream? What miracle makes a mother spit on her child? My memories of her are now curses, leading dead weight, every single searing ember. Why is this not a cutscene? Why is this not mentioned at all in the campaign? It would have been such a riveting plot point and explained why Bale is like this. That is why I really do wish that they expanded on this lore, or even gave us a TV show or something, because the cutscenes are getting so good. There's certain stuff that are in lore books that it would just seem like a no-brainer to be part of the campaign in a cutscene. It would have gave Bale so much aura, and he lost all of it in that fight with Honor because he almost did a really cool fight, and then when he lost it threw a temper tantrum. This would have been an amazing plot point because we've seen a lot of people that were humans or dead people come back to life as guardians, but we've never thought about this from the eyes of a child. Imagine you were a child and your mom died when you were younger and you see her back alive again with a ghost and she doesn't remember you. That is crazy. And I want to be a villain too. It's a valid crash out. The Lawless Frontier is the other activity you get. I already talked about it earlier, so let's keep this short. It's incredibly similar to Helldivers 2, and if you like that, you're going to like this. It's incredibly fun. I loved it a lot. You pick your mission type, load into that specific map, kill a bunch of enemies, do the objective, extract for your loot, and that's it, honestly. They do have different things called Renegade abilities that can help you, like the ATST, which is called the Behemoth in this game. They have airstrikes, as well as another version of a weaponized sparrow, which makes the activities insanely fun because you can only use them in here. If you choose not to use those abilities, you don't have to, because you can use this place to test your builds because there's a lot of ads. You also have to worry about getting invaded every once in a while. Some people don't like it, some people do like it. It can be kind of one-sided if you know how to play against an invader. But I do enjoy it personally. It's a fun way to jump in and get a bunch of loot really easily, especially if you bet on yourself. There's a bunch of lightsaber customizables in Lawless Frontier as well. You get the red blade from invading, of course, and you get 2 other colors from doing Lawless Frontier activities on the different maps. The new dungeon, Equilibrium, is really fun and definitely not my favorite dungeon, but it's good enough. Most of the dungeon is just getting to the next encounter after you defeat a boss. I really don't enjoy that most of the entire dungeon is in a respawn zone, even the spots that normally wouldn't be, like the jump puzzles. If you fall and die, it can take you like 5 to 10 minutes to get back where you're going. This is absolutely the easiest dungeon they released out of the most recent 3. As for the solo, I did it pretty easily once I had a plan, and I feel like anyone can solo it if you tried to. You can also focus the drops after you complete the quest. Speaking on focusing drops, let's talk about the weapons from this expansion. The Plastic Blade, aka the lightsaber. Bungie did an amazing job transferring over all the feeling of a lightsaber. It feels amazing to use, the sound design and animation for it are top tier. The customization for it is also really cool. You can choose what hilts you use and also what kyber crystal to change the color of your lightsaber. You can also build into guarding, throwing, or attacking with the Plastic Blade. Then each attack, throw, or guard would apply a subclass effect. So if I have the attack mod on and have a solar subclass, I can do the light, heavy combo and ignite the person I'm hitting for even more damage. Or if I want to do a guard mod, I can have on arc and I can do guarding, have enemies shooting at me while I'm guarding and stacking up bolt charge, which will then activate off the bolt charge. The heat weapons are some of my favorite weapons in the game to shoot now. Heat weapons deal bonus damage to powerful combatants, so they actually deal good damage unlike regular primary ammo. The different archetype of heat weapons feel different. If you have a dynamic heat weapon and you start shooting at the lower half of your venting, you will get a buff called Dynamic Heat Limiter that lets it so you can shoot for way more because it generates less heat. But if you have a balanced heat weapon and you start to vent at 90 to 100%, you will be able to do a perfect vent, which will basically clear the entire weapon of heat in less than a second. It's really cool. I love it a lot. The new Dungeon Machine Gun Bitter End can basically shoot forever with the right perks. Uncivil Discord, the new special hand cannon that's designed to look like Han Solo's blaster, I believe, is the community's new darling. Overall, this expansion is another solid venture in the Destiny universe. The campaign was great despite some of the gripes I had. The Lawless Frontier is a fun activity with multiple different factions you can level to get loot and level up your renegade abilities. The dungeon is pretty good and all the weapons from it are some of the best weapons from the expansion and they're also easily farmable. The Plastic Blade is more than likely the best sword in the game and it's also incredibly fun to use. So I've said some amazing things about this expansion and some little negatives. What are my overall thoughts about it? In my opinion, Renegades is just another expansion for Destiny 2. It's not the best expansion, but it's not the worst one either. It's a solid addition, nothing to write home about of course, because at the end of the day, it's just more Destiny, except this time, it's Star Wars flavored, and that's going to be okay for some people. Once again, in my opinion, Bungie honestly needed something to move the needle, to get people to come back, and this really isn't anything that's going to grab people that left. I also don't think it's enough content to keep people playing. We're getting a stellar campaign that most people are only going to play once. The Lawless Frontier that's also really cool, but it's going to get repetitive. And the dungeon is cool, but they're going to get bored or they're going to get the roles they want. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. I've already stopped playing Destiny consistently out of this expansion. I felt this way after I attempted the solo dungeon. I ended the stream after my first attempt and it hit me like a brick wall. After I do this, I have nothing to do. Nothing I want to aspire for, and that's just not good this soon after release. I think we need something to shake up the series, and I know most people feel that same way. Let me give you a TLDR. If you're enjoying Destiny and want more to do, I would absolutely recommend you buy this expansion. If you're looking for something to shake up the game for what it's been for the past couple of years, this isn't it. But I would still recommend you play it because it's really fun. Just don't expect to keep playing for much long after. And those are my overall thoughts about Renegades. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you completely disagree with what I've said? Or do you completely agree with what I said? I would love to hear what you think. And if you haven't watched my year in review vid, please give it a watch. I enjoyed editing it and I think you'll enjoy watching it. Have a good one. Stay spooky. Peace.